Hello everyone, and welcome to another manga chapter review. I am the Rat, and this is The Rat's Nest. We are here today to discuss a chapter that is controversial to say the least about it. Oshi no Ko, chapter 123. Now, before we dive into it, right, I want to clarify something, right? I am not sitting here, I'm not claiming to be an Oshi no Ko expert, right? I'm a new fan. You could say I'm a bandwagon fan, right? I watched the anime, absolutely loved it. Anime finished up, I binged the manga in 2 days. Loved that even more, right? Quick plug, you want to see my thoughts on the manga, check out my previous video. So much Oshi no Ko content, I know. I'm not claiming to be the most experienced Oshi no Ko fan. I'm not claiming to be the most knowledgeable Oshi no Ko fan. I'm not claiming to be the guy who... I'm not claiming to be an expert authority on Oshi no Ko, right? I think that people who have been following this series longer than I have will remember more details and pick up on more character nuances. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know more than everyone. What I am going to sit here and say is that chapter 123 is really good. It's a really good chapter. And I'm tired. I'm tired of the slander against it, right? Everyone only posts the last panel. They only post the last panel and they only focus on it, and it's people who probably don't even read the manga much. I'm tired of the slander of 123. What you call it? First, let's say ignoring the last panel, right? 123 is one of the best chapters of Oshi no Ko there is, because it provides a really good resolution to Ruby's character, which is something that's been building up to since basically chapter 77, if not earlier. It's kind of, she gets her star eye back, right? It's that even counting the last panel, I still think it's good. I still think it's good. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you guys. I still think that it's good. I think that it's good characterization. I think that it's good writing, and I'm gonna talk about that because gosh darn it, I have an opinion, and my opinion will be heard. Be heard by all 10 people who watch this video. It's a good chapter, okay? Okay. Now, obviously, this chapter is a bit controversial, right? Because of the last page. Only because of the last page, right? And people just ignore that there's an entire chapter in front of it. So, let's look through it, shall we? Let's analyze chapter 123. There's no script here. I'm completely going off the top of my head. I have the chapter pulled up here. I'm just going to talk about it. Like I said, I'm not claiming to remember everything. And who knows, maybe one day I'll eat my words on this. But right now, I'm tired. I'm tired of the slander. I have my friend who doesn't even read Oshi no Ko sent me a picture of the last panel and said, hey yo, this kind of sus. And I'm just like, it's a good chapter. Oh my gosh. Okay, so obviously 123 coming off the heels of 122, which is another phenomenal chapter, arguably again one of the best chapters of Oshi no Ko, as I would say 123 is, where Aqua finally learns that Ruby is Sarina, and Sarina finally finds out that Aqua is Goro, right? Or Sensei, right? Whatever. That finally happens. And this chapter, it keeps it going, right? We get to see the aftermath of their reunion, right? So, Ruby is clinging to him, crying, said, Sensei. She says, you've always been this close. Why did you never tell me? He said, well, I wasn't sure until now. And then, yeah, so I think in my last video when I talked about it, I wasn't sure when exactly Aqua... So Aqua just found out as well, right? He just got confirmation. I think he kind of knew, and he just got his confirmation. So, Ruby here, right? Ruby here says, I did my best, I thought you'd find me if I used the idol name B. Kamachi. I was looking for you, wondering if you were among the guests at the event. I did my best, thinking that you might be there watching me. I was worried that you wouldn't find me because you'd long forgotten about Mama and B. Kamachi. And then she said, I called the hospital, but they said you went missing, and then what? You died in that kind of place. So this is Ruby here, right? This girl, she's saying how much Goro has always meant to her, even since reincarnating, right? And we've kind of known this. Obviously her reaction to finding him dead. He's obviously important to her, right? Okay. but she's always been thinking of him, right? So this is established. So Aqua says, "I'm sorry for making you feel sad." And then she said, "I trusted you, Aqua, but you did something that betrayed Mama. I thought I couldn't trust anyone in this world anymore." And he says, "I haven't forgotten. The reason I told the world about I and why I encouraged the director to make this movie was so I can avenge her." And here we get the big Ruby scene, right? Here we get, I think that this is all phenomenal, right? Where Ruby's like, "I did a lot of terrible things and told many lies because I had to avenge you and Mama." So there again, we get to see that, it's coming back. We've seen how much she cared about Goro, right? Even in this life. And then she finds him dead, right? Obviously, chapter 77, I believe it was. Big funny chapter, right? Like, she views him on a similar level to I. Like, they are both extremely important figures to her. And so that's why she went down this path, right? That's all old news. That's all old news. We knew that. She says, "Every time it happened, my heart started to throb and my stomach felt like it was getting heavier and heavier. Every time I lie, I feel like I'm heading in a different direction from where I want to be." So here we get her where she's like, "Look, all this stuff that I've been doing, right, since then, I haven't wanted to. I feel awful about it. I feel horrible about it. I feel like I'm heading in a different direction from where I wanted to be." This is great stuff. This is great character, right? This is Ruby finally coming out and saying everything that's been unsaid for the last half of Oshi no Ko, right? She's just coming out and saying it to Aqua, right? Her sensei, someone that one of her two most important people she's finally met alive again, and she's opening up to them, right? Here she is. So this is awesome. And then Aqua, we get a little look. You can interpret that look different ways. And then he says, "Ruby, it doesn't suit you at all." It doesn't. And this is a lot of Goro speaking here, where he's like, "This doesn't suit you." He's remembering her back. Yeah. And so Ruby says, "But Mama said idols would lie." So here again, we see her reliance on I, and we kind of see a more childish side of Ruby here, where she's like, "But Mama said idols would lie," right? So she's like, this is her. She's been trying to follow in I's footsteps. She's been trying to do this to avenge Goro and I, but she hasn't wanted to. And this shows a very childish side of her where she's like, "But Mama said idols would lie," right? That's a very childish response. Maybe it's just the way that it's translated into English, but I think the way the paneling is done, what you call it. And we get Aqua saying, "I and you are different people. Stop chasing her shadow. You just need to live your own life." So this word, right? What you call it? Say what Ruby has been told before. This is one of her two most important people saying, "Yeah, you need to live your own life. You stop chasing your shadow, and you don't have to lie," right? So this kind of wakes her up, right? One of the people that she's been trying so hard to avenge this entire time, that she's been doing all this for, is alive again. She can talk to him again, and he says, "I and you are different people. Stop chasing your shadow. You just need to live your own life. You don't have to lie anymore," right? This is Aqua being completely real, because as Goro, he cares about Sarina. He doesn't want her to go down this path. He never did. You don't have to lie anymore. He's telling her that. Like that's his very extremely genuine opinion. You just need to live your own life. That's what he wants for her. That's what he wants. That's why he's keeping her out of his whole revenge thing. Is that he wants, you just need to live your own life. You don't have to lie anymore. Stop chasing her shadow. All these things. And this is one of Ruby's two most important people saying this to her. So obviously it's getting through. This is someone who knows her. This is the person who knows her. And he's just like, "You just need to live your own life. You don't have to lie anymore." It's very genuine. And then she starts to cry and she says, "The truth is, I love this page. I love this page. It was painful." I'm going to try to get the thought bubbles in order. It can be kind of confusing sometimes. "It was painful. I thought I had to lie brilliantly like Mama and smile all the time. I thought I had to be like her. I'd always think it'd be easier if I could just forget about her. Sometimes when I look at the fans, I remember the face of the person who killed Mama. Being an idol isn't always fun. The truth is, I always think of unpleasant and dirty things. But I want to be loved, so I hide everything. My heart remains the same as when I was in the hospital room hating the world. Do you still think it's okay? Are you fine with this, Ruby?" Okay, Ruby's big monologue here. No one is talking. I have seen obviously there will be people that talk about it. I've seen no one talk because everyone's focused on the last page. This is good. This is good stuff. We're getting stuff from Aqua where he's very genuine with her. And we don't see Aqua to be extremely genuine, especially at this point in the manga where he's very focused on his path of self-destruction. With he's making the movie, he's going to kill his father, right? He's being very genuine with her, and here Ruby completely opens up. He says, the truth is, it was painful. I thought I had to lie brilliantly like Mama and smile all the time. This is, again, bringing up what we saw before. This has been painful for her for the past however long that she's been doing this. She hasn't wanted to. This is her being completely open. I thought I had to be like her. All of this stuff. I was always thinking it'd be easier if I could just forget about her. This is Ruby being completely honest. Ruby, and she's been, kind of, funny, haha lie since. But this is Ruby being completely honest. She's bearing everything out here. And it's so good because we get to see her this entire time, even beforehand, right? Even before she found Goro's body, right? I believe that this still applies then. All her thoughts about it being painful. She thought she had to lie brilliantly. It's almost like she got caught up in the lie that was I as well. And this is, and she'd always be, if it was easy, it'd be easier if I could just forget about her. So this is, Ruby's clashing with Sarina's old desire to be an idol, right? Sarina always wanted to be an idol like I. But here we can see that Ruby has fully seen every side of it. I thought I had to be just like her. Being an idol isn't always fun. I always think of unpleasant and dirty things, but I want to be loved. Again, this is coming from Ruby, who has had all this time to be it has been kind of fake, and especially since she found Goro's body, especially been faking it. All she wanted to do is be loved, and that's held back from being Sarina, right? Where we, at this point, she's at her lowest, right? Because she just found out that her mom never actually loved her, right? She knew, but she just came to the full realization of it, right? She just came to that. She thought that Aqua, a compatriot, right, a stranger, right? It was like, well, had betrayed their mom, right? The person that they both adored, as far as she knew, as an idol, right? Who does she have, right? So this is a little girl, and she feels like she has no one. But I want to be loved, so I hide everything. My heart remains the same as when I was in the hospital room, hating the world. So how long has she kept this facade up? That's the question. Is, even before she found Goro's body, like how hard was it then? How genuine was she with Aqua and everyone else? She was pretty genuine, sure, but it's that deep dive into the character. Yeah, it's been hard for her. She might seem bubbly, but that's a lie. But she wants to be loved, so she acts out like that. You're like, oh, haha, funny idol desk, right? And she hides everything. My heart remains the same as when I was in the hospital room, hating the world, right? This is good stuff because this is Ruby admitting she's like I hate the world, but I want to be loved, so I hide everything. I'm never honest, right? Funny I'm never honest. I always lie, that kind of thing. And it's good. It's good because it shows the parallels between them, and it shows she's just a little girl she just wants to be loved. She just wants to be an idol like her mom, but she has to deal with the world and everything in the world, and that sucks. But here she is being genuine, and she says, "Do you still think it's okay? Are you fine with this, Ruby?" Here she's asking Aqua and Goro, "Is this fine? If I'm not the same upbeat person that I usually am." If I'm not the same happy person who cracks jokes and laughs and makes everyone laughs and dances good and sings well, sings well enough, right? If I'm not that, if I am this horrible person who it's not being fun being an idol and I hide everything and I'm just like and I lie and I manipulate and I'm an awful person, are you still fine with this, Ruby? This is good. This is her asking Goro, one of the two most important people, right? As we've established, this is her asking him, even with everything. I've bared everything to you. These are all my genuine thoughts on that. Is that fine, right? She's at her lowest point here. She has no one to rely on. She says, "Are you fine with this, Ruby?" And then we get Aqua or Goro saying, "I told you, didn't I? I'm your biggest fan. The person I adore is the girl who struggled in pain in that hospital room but kept dreaming with her eyes sparkling. Back then, you were even more radiant than I." And we get an amazing panel of Ruby on the next page, right? And then Funny Crow. Funny Crow. We'll get to the Funny Crow, right? Look. Here Ruby is at her lowest point, and she just had the person that she admires most, right? The person who was by her side as she died in her last life more than anyone. Her own parents weren't, right? Goro was the only person there, right? And then she finds out that here he is again, right? He's been with her this entire time and she just hasn't known it. And he's like, I told you, didn't I? I'm your biggest fan. You know, the person I adore is the girl who struggled in pain in that hospital room but kept dreaming with her eyes sparkling. Back then, you were even more radiant than I. So this is Goro after all that, after Ruby, you know, being like, bearing her heart completely to Aqua, right? Being like, you know, everything, you know, being an idol isn't always fun. I wanted to be loved. I hid everything, you know. It's like, it's, you know, I'm not perfect, right? You know, if I'm this Ruby instead of the perfect Ruby, is that fine? And then we have Goro cutting even deeper and saying, yeah, that's completely fine. He said, because the person I adore is the girl who struggled in pain in that hospital room but kept dreaming with her eyes sparkling, right? Goro goes back even further than that. He's saying here, right? He's like, look, he's like, I don't care who you are. He's like, you at your core, that's who I admire. You, Sarina, you know, not the whole facade of Ruby Hoshino that she's built up over how long. Sarina, right? He's like, that's who I adore. And he says, back then you were even more radiant than I. And Ruby knows how much I means to both of them, right? Obviously, there's so much meaning there, right? She knows just how much I means to both of them. Goro wouldn't and doesn't say this lightly. He's being 100% completely honest again. And this is great for Aqua's character, too, because he's being 100% completely honest, right? This is, you know, we don't often see Goro this honest. You know, maybe, okay. I'll back off that point a little bit, right? Because what if this is just Aqua being funny and manipulating? I don't think so. I genuinely don't think so. I can't fully trust an author. I cannot fully trust the author of Oshi no Ko here. Maybe this is Aqua manipulating. I don't think so. But even if it is him manipulating, it's great for Ruby's character because here is the person that she adores most saying this to her, right? At her lowest point, she's picked back up by the person she adores most in the entire world, right? By the person who knows her better than anyone else. The person who knows her better than anyone else in the entire world. Especially back then, right? Whenever she almost died, right? And especially now after she's, you know, lived with him for so long and just bared her complete thoughts and everything to him, right? Especially after that, the person who knows her best in the entire world says you were even more radiant than I. The person that she is at her core is even more radiant than I to him. Look. That's good. that's good, right? That's important. And we could see that with that panel. Her star eye is finally back. The black stars are gone, right? Completely. She's out of it. This was never her, right? Lying and everything and all of that she hated about herself that she was doing and all that was never her, right? And Aqua cuts to the core of it. He's like back then, he says, at your core, you're even more radiant than I, right? Who you are, even more radiant than I. And that gets to her. And it helps her. It heals her, kind of, you know, it heals her, right? It's good. And then we get Crow Girl, right? This mysterious... You wouldn't even know Crow Girl is in this chapter because everyone's like, ooh, the last page, right? Dude, the last page. You know, you wouldn't even know Crow Girl is in this chapter. But she is. And we get one of her famous cryptic monologues. So, Crow Girl says, aren't you glad with that Ruby's back on her feet and the moving can be made according to your plan? If you like, you can take this opportunity and she may be able to fly high again. But that's a bad move. I'm sure you know, but this is a clear failure caused by your naivety. No, something like that. In the end, you're not cut out for revenge, but I guess I can give you a little bit of sympathy. From your point of view, it'd be easier for you if you hated you, but... And then that's it. That's the funny Crow Girl monologue. Cryptic. Okay, let's look into this, right? Because I've thought over this a little bit. Like I said, I'm not claiming to be an expert on Oshi no Ko here, right? I say, aren't you glad with that Ruby's back on her feet and the movie can be made according to your plan? Yeah, so he helped her. She's back on her feet. She's going to do well as I. The movie can be made according to your plan. If you like, you can take this opportunity and she may be able to fly high again. the question is, what opportunity is she talking about here, right? Obviously, elephant in the room. The opportunity is the opportunity to date her. Is the opportunity to go out with it, to say that he loves her, right? Is that the opportunity? And she may be able to fly high again, but that's a bad move. And so that's if you like, you can take this opportunity, and she may be able to fly high again, because the opportunity hasn't happened yet, is what I'm getting from this wording. And I'm assuming that this translation is very accurate and correct whenever looking into the specifics of the wording here. This is interesting, and I don't think I've seen anyone talk about this. Like, if you take this opportunity, and she may be able to fly high again, but that's a bad move. I don't think that the opportunity that was said was maybe it was an opportunity that was. I think it's an opportunity that's been created since she's back on her feet, right? So because Goro or Aqua told Ruby that he's Goro, right? You can take this opportunity, and she may be able to fly high again. Because there's an opportunity here. Is that opportunity, to say that he loves her? I don't know. That could be what she's alluding to here. If it is, I think that'd be really interesting. I'll get into more of my thoughts on the funny last page, right? But if it's Aqua manipulating her and, burning her again, right? I think that'd be very bad for Ruby's psyche, right, to have that happen. I'll speak more on it in depth whenever I get to the last page. But I don't think that it's entirely out of the picture for him to manipulate her and to lead her on like that for his own revenge courses. I think that that's totally something that he would do to get revenge, and then to also set her up for life after him, because I assume he either means to die or do. He's essentially like, I'm out of the picture after this happens, right? And she goes, but that's a bad move. So it's a bad move to help her fly higher, what you call it. And so this is kind of, again, why I think maybe it's alluding to the opportunity being a quote-unquote romantic relationship. Krogo says, I'm sure you know, but this is a clear failure caused by your naivety. A clear failure being, okay, she knows who you are, right? Like, Ruby knowing who Aqua is a clear failure. I think at least that part of Crow Girl's little monologue here is clear. Right? It's a clear failure. So that means that her knowing actively works against his plan, which is, again, tying back to, if you like, you can take this opportunity, of a faux romantic relationship with her being a bad move, because if it's a clear failure, what you call it, all that. In the end, you're not cut out for revenge. But I guess I can give you a little bit of sympathy from your point of view. It'd be easier for you if she hated you, but... And she says, in the end, you're not cut out for revenge, right? That line... that's like, okay, that's what makes me think he's being genuine here. Because if he, I don't think that she would be this harsh to him. It was a clear failure, everything. Like, if he was being manipulative here and lying to her throughout all this, right? Throughout the past couple of pages, he's like, you were even more radiant than I. You don't have to lie anymore. If he was being manipulative there and working towards his goal, she wouldn't be being this harsh to him, right? Crow Girl wants revenge for whatever reason. For some reason, Crow Girl wants revenge. I can't tell you why. We don't know. I don't think we know. But Crow Girls want revenge. So if she's mad at Aqua for doing this, that must mean he was being genuine. He's not being manipulative. He's working against the interests of his revenge in doing all of this and comforting Ruby, right? And telling her who he is and all of this, right? I guess I can give you a little bit of sympathy from your point of view. It'd be easier for you if he hated you, but whatever comes after the but, maybe it's like, it'd be easier for you if she hated you, but you want her to be happy, right? Or it could be you want her to love it. I'll just go on and say, I don't think Goro has any romantic feelings for Ruby whatsoever. I don't believe that whatsoever. That is nowhere in my mind, right? Yeah, obviously the authors can do whatever the authors are going to do. I can't fully trust an author ever again. Right? Yeah, I got burned at the end of Attack on Titan. I trusted Isayama completely, and I was not a fan. My opinion on the Attack on Titan ending is for a different video. But I can't fully trust an author here, right? To say that they won't write him to have some romantic feelings. I don't think so. I don't think so whatsoever. But it'd be easier for you if she hated you. But he wants her to he wants her to be happy. That's part of his goal as well, is he wants Sarna to live a full, happy life, because she was cooped up and died, all alone in that hotel room for her entire previous life. He wants her to live happily, right? And so again, I think that's why he did that. You're not cut out for revenge. So maybe he was being manipulative to help her out. I don't think so. I don't think Aqua was being manipulative here. Maybe he was. If nothing else, he was not being manipulative towards the goal of revenge, right? It'd be easier if she hated you, again, because I believe that he's planning on himself being out of the picture after whatever goes down, right? Whether he means to die or whether he means to be locked up forever, I don't know. Maybe it means to just disappear, right? He means to be out of the picture. So it'd be easier for if she hated you, but yeah. So that's Crow Girl's funny little monologue, right? Again, I think that this is great. I think that you can tell a lot about the situation from her perspective on it, from her talking to Aqua in this, that kind of thing. The opportunity, what is the opportunity there, but that's a bad move, Like there's an opportunity here to help her out even more, to help her fly high again, right? She's back on her feet. She can fly high again. There's an opportunity for that, but that's a bad move. Like you shouldn't make that in the course of your revenge, right? Whether it be a faux romantic relationship with her, right? Or whatever, that's a bad move. Whatever the opportunity is that has arisen from this circumstance, it's a bad move for revenge, right? You also get to see Aqua sweating in the last panel. So what you call it. This is all good. This tells a lot about the situation, right? There's a lot of depth and nuance in this chapter. There's a lot of depth and nuance. There's a whole situation of them reuniting in the future. If people just focus on the last page. Okay, now we're at the end, right? We get to see Ruby washing her face, and she says, "I believe you, Aqua. The girl you were a fan of back then will shine brighter than Mama." And here, again, we see she has the one star. There's no black eyes. She's being true and honest to herself again. And she says, so here's, people have been looking into the funny names of Sensei versus Aqua. I don't know. I'll just have to see how in the future what the connotations around each name use is. Or maybe she'll just use them interchangeably. We just don't know. And she says, "I believe you, Aqua. The girl you were a fan of back then will shine brighter than Mama." So her passion is reinvigorated, right? She's back on her feet, as Crow Girl said. She's going to be good for the movie, right? Okay, cool. And then we get to the funny line, right? Also, I haven't forgotten those words. You said that you'd married me when I turned 16, right? Sensei, I've already turned 16. First of all, she's saying this into a glass. I don't think she's saying this to Aqua. She could be. I don't think so. Because as we see, she's coming out. She's going towards Aqua, who's standing behind glass. And she's just talking, and we don't see her open the door. And we kind of we see glass directly in front of her. I don't think Aqua hears this, right? I think some people miss that detail. I don't think that it's missed by a ton of people, but I think people miss that detail. So first of all, she's saying this behind glass. This isn't a direct thing. This isn't a next chapter Aqua's going to confess his love for her and they're going to make out, right? This isn't that at all. This is, she's voicing her feelings. Now, you could say, and this is a point a lot of people have made, it's like the Aqua versus Sensei. So maybe she's saying Sensei as like a playful thing, and she's just like joking around here, right? I don't think that she's entirely joking here. I'm not going to lie. I think that with everything I've said, right? How much importance I've placed on, Goro being important to Ruby and to Sarina, to all of that, with the importance of him to her, I don't think it's entirely likely that she still loves him, right? And I don't think that that's a bad thing either. Because, okay, hear me out. Look, okay, quick bullet points, and then I'll get into the details, right? Quick bullet points. 1, she has said explicitly on multiple times throughout this life, and we have seen even earlier just in the same chapter, right, that she still loves him, that she still loves Goro, that he is the one that she loves, that she has a crush on, right? We know this, okay? 2, we know that at multiple points in the manga recently, she has said that she does not view herself and Aqua as family. And I think that this is an entirely reasonable thing. Because, they're reincarnated. They still primarily think of themselves as Sarina and Goro, at least for the most part. We know that Aqua at least does, for the most part, right? Like I said, I'm not the foremost expert on Oshinoko, right? So they view themselves, they're just strangers. She doesn't know who he really is because he's not Aquamarine Hoshino. Like that like at his core, she's Sarina. So it makes sense that she wouldn't view him as family throughout their lives. And then she gets here, boom, he's Sensei, right? Okay. 3rd point. She was 12, and now she's just 16. Look, okay, right? Obviously, I'm a guy, right? You can't tell me that there wasn't at least one adult you had a crush on as a kid. It happens, right? Especially with everything that I've just said and gone over from this chapter, right? Look, let's look back at Sarina and Goro while they were still Sarina and Goro, right? She has no one else in the entire world. Here's this guy. She always joked around about marrying him, right? He's the only doctor there. He genuinely cares about her. They share an interest in Ai. You know, this kid who has no one else, why wouldn't she fall for him? You know, at least like a little childish crush. It makes sense. It makes complete sense. And it also makes sense that she would keep it going. Because as we saw earlier, they're being like, but Mama said idols would lie. She's still she's still childish, you know? She's still very much so it makes sense that she's holding on to these feelings, and they've only grown stronger because a lot of the reason she's done this is to meet him again, right? She's been giving a second chance at life. Wouldn't you want to meet them again? Like, you know, like it makes perfect sense for her character to still like Goro. It makes perfect sense for her to, especially now they've reunited. She's at her lowest, and the person that she cares about most has just said the perfect words to her, right? She got her back on her feet. You know, you are you. You are perfect because you're you. You don't have to pretend to be something you're not. Completely clears up her worries, completely clears up her doubts and her fears. She's just been confirmed that this person that she has cared about so much for all these years is still someone worth caring about. Is still someone to be worthy to, you know, want to marry. You know, funny, you know, I want to marry you. Like, I think that her feelings are completely genuine in this scene. You know, maybe she knows that Goro was joshing or not. You know, I think that she kind of does. You know, at least, you know, I did not reread the manga from the beginning. I read the last couple chapters of the manga that were adapted into anime, and then I read the rest. Right? So I can't remember how the manga does it, but at least in the anime, whenever Goro says that, she's like, oh yeah, when I lived to 16, ha ha ha. You know, I mean, I think that she's smart enough to recognize that that's a bit of a joke, right? A bit of a, you know, like, oh, I want you to live longer, because that's all it is. You know, are there genuinely people out there who look at Goro saying that and is like, bro is he's completely serious about that. He's gonna marry that 12-year-old. You know, he's no. It's a doctor saying that to his patient who's dying, this child who is dying. And being like, oh yeah, you know, it's part of their relationship to josh around like that. And he's like, oh yeah, I'll marry you when you turn 16. He's like, because he wants her to make it to 16. And now here she is, you know, what you call it, even going down the route of she thinks he was completely serious. I can understand that, because here's this child, she has nothing else to hold on to. She's been still holding on to it all this time, and she just got it confirmed for her. I think that it's completely in character and good for her character. I think it'd be more out of character if she was like, oh, you're my brother. No, she said that she doesn't view them as family, and I think that it'd almost be weird to view him as family because she's never known who he truly was, because she's always looked at herself as Sarina, right? And so, like, if she views herself as her old self, right? When did she view, you know, if you were reincarnated with someone you had no clue who they were before, it's like, how could you ever view them as family, really? You know, it's that thing. You know, I think it'd be more out of character for her to view him as family. I think that this is completely in character for her, and I'm very happy with this character writing. I think that's completely in character for her. And you know, I've been sitting through and looking through everything, and there's a bunch of slander. There's a bunch of slander on this, and I don't buy it. Right? I think that this is an absolutely phenomenal chapter, some absolutely phenomenal character writing. I think that it is a great chapter for Ruby's character, and I think that she's, you know, this is good writing. This is good writing, and I think people are so caught up on they're going the incest route. No, right? Like I said, I might eat my words. I might eat my words here whenever I say this, but it's not going the incest route. You know, I can't fully trust an author. I can't. I just can't. It very well might. There's always a possibility that it could, right? I can't sit here and say there's a 0% chance that it's going to, because it might. Like I said, I can't trust an author. What I can say is that in my own view of things, there is no way. Because very simply, Aqua could never feel that way towards her. If he does, right, then that's on the author. From my perspective, looking in on this, from my reasoning about the characters, right, there's no way Aqua could ever feel that way towards her. Because he's 30 and she was 12. She is a child that he was in charge of taking care of at the hospital, that he admired because of her strength, even without parents, even without anyone else. He admired her, and they shared a common interest of eye. He enjoyed hanging out with her. There was no romantic love there. How could there be romantic love there? He said, "Oh, I'll marry you when you turn 16. That was a joke. It was a joke because he's like, I want you to live to 16, and you're going to live to 16. It's a subtle reassurance. It's a subtle reassurance from him, like, you're going to make it to 16. And obviously, she didn't, right? But that's what doctors do. Like, there's no romantic love there from Aqua's part. And like I said, the author could always write it in, right? Nothing is ever set in stone until the story is over. And even then, the author can go back and be like, I'm gonna add some extra pages to make it worse. Even an author can always do that. But as of right now, with the way that everything is set up and the way that everything is written, there's no romantic love there. I don't think that we're supposed to think there's any romantic love there. If going forward, right? Like I said, this isn't a confession. This isn't something we're going to deal with next chapter. I think that going forward, we might have Ruby having some conflicts with her thoughts on Aqua. If nothing else, we'll get to see the aftermath of this. Maybe we'll get to see Aqua, have to walk the tightrope between, like, yes, like I do love you, but as like a patient loves his favorite patient, or as a patient, that's a doctor loves his favorite patient, or a brother or sister, because he kind of views her as a little sister. Even back in the hospital, he viewed her as like a little sister, someone he needed to take care of, and then she was put into a very literal role of that here, right? So maybe it's him, walking the line between showing those feelings and not leading her on, or maybe he does, Maybe they do go the route of he starts dating her or something. And it's all part of a manipulation. I don't think he will, because I think that he didn't. I think he was completely honest throughout this chapter, right, with his thoughts on everything. I think that he was completely and utterly honest whenever he said everything, because of what Crow Girl said, being like, this was a mistake, like this was an absolute failure, and Crow Girl being focused on revenge herself. So I think he was being genuine here, So I don't know. I don't think that he would lead her on. He could. I don't know what, in terms of going towards his revenge, I don't know what starting a fake relationship with her would do. I don't see what that would do. Maybe it has something. I don't know. Maybe the author is just like, oh, to Wincest for the win. But I don't think so, because there's a lot of depth here. There's a lot of depth in this character writing that we've just seen with Ruby just this chapter. Even with Aqua a bit, right? But especially with Ruby, that we've seen just this chapter, there's a lot of depth to this writing. And so, I think it's a very rare chance that the author messes this up. They could. They always could. The author can always mess it up. I can't even trust Oda or Fujimoto. I can't fully trust them. I trust them enough. I trust the author of Oshinoko. I think Aka something, right? Whatever. I trust them enough because there is good character writing in here. There's good character. There's been good writing throughout all of Oshinoko. I wouldn't care this much about Oshinoko if there wasn't some good writing in it, right? Maybe they do go incest route, and I eat my words, right? That doesn't change the fact that right here, right now, at this point in time, I consider 123 one of the best Oshinoko chapters. And I hope I've made my points clear. As clear as they can, with no script and just going completely off the top of my head. I think that this was a phenomenal chapter, and it makes me sad. It makes me sad to see all the hate around it because of the last page and people not looking into it. Look, okay, if people are just completely grossed out by the mere mention of anything possible, right? Okay, I can't tell you to not be grossed out by that, right? What I can say is I think that it's good. I think that this chapter is good writing because of this, and this. And this is why I don't think it's as bad as you're saying. I think that this is a great chapter. I think that this is great characterization. I think that it all makes sense. I think that it makes perfect sense, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they handle it going forward, since at this point in the manga, I think they've handled the characters extremely well. And I'm looking forward to how they build off of this, I think, really well-made platform, launching pad for, like, the rest of the character writing of the series. Right? I don't think it's any thing to say we're getting close to the end of Oshinoko. I'm looking forward to seeing how the characters deal with this, to seeing how Ruby and Aqua's relationship changes, now that they know fully who they are, to see, more about Crow Girl, to see, I'm looking forward to seeing how the other characters react to how the relationship changes. If anything changes, I'm looking forward to seeing how this knowledge of who they are changes the perspective of whatever happens at the end of the series. Right? What will Ruby think knowing that this isn't just Aqua, but Goro whenever whatever plan he has goes through? Right? This is an immense change, and I think this is some amazing character writing, and I am thrilled looking forward to it. And it makes me very, very sad that people are flanderizing this one page and these couple of lines whenever there is 122.8 chapters ahead of this page and this line that I think brilliantly lead up to it and help it to make it makes sense. It makes sense, and it's good, right? Okay. Obviously, this is a controversial chapter. If anyone's still watching, thank you. I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, I hope I was able to get my thoughts across. Maybe this is an extremely unpopular opinion. Like I said, I might eat my words later with the writing. Maybe this is an extremely unpopular opinion, but I wanted to say it. I wanted to get it out of my system because I think that this is a phenomenal chapter, and I'm going to stand by that. I stand by that. Even if later it turns out the intentions are different, right? My opinion right now, this is a phenomenal chapter. That's not going to change. That's not going to change. So that's my quote unquote little rant. He says 42 minutes into the video. This was a great chapter. I'm very much looking forward to Oshinoko chapter 124. I don't know. I'm not planning on covering Oshinoko weekly. I'm going to be reading it weekly. I'm not planning on covering it. If there's a demand for that, leave a comment if you want to see my thoughts on it. I mean, I'd gladly, if there are people that want to watch the video, I'll gladly make the video, because I think 42 minutes into my little rant on one chapter. I really like Oshinoko. This is a great series. And so obviously I'm going to read it. So yeah, if you're still watching and you're interested, leave a comment, let me know. Because I'm not currently planning to. If something else huge happens or whatever, I'll probably make a video. If Aqua and Ruby get together, I'll probably make a video on that. I mean, just being, I might have to eat my words a little bit on what I said. Like I said, I can never trust an author fully. There's always a possibility. But yeah, so that's been Oshinoko chapter 123. If you're this far in the video, obviously there's something you like, so make sure to like, subscribe, and like I said, leave a comment if you want to see me talk more on Oshinoko, because I do really like this series. I think that it's very good. And so, hope you all enjoyed this video. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.